On my birthday, my parents disowned me. For days later, they wouldn't stop calling. I didn't want a party. I told them that clearly. I said a quiet dinner would be enough. Just cake. Maybe candles. Nothing big. But my parents never listened when it came to me. So when I walked into the restaurant that night and saw nearly 100 relatives packed into the room, dressed like it was a wedding, not a birthday, my stomach tightened. Every table was full. Aunts I hadn't spoken to in years. Cousins who only remembered my name when they needed something. Even distant relatives who lived hours away. Everyone turned to look at me. Phones lifted. Smiles froze. My mother clapped her hands and said loudly, "Everyone's here. Let's begin." That should have been my first warning. I was 28 years old that night. I had my own job, my own apartment, my own car. But in that room, I was suddenly 12 again. Small. Outnumbered. Unprotected. They seated me at the center table, right between my parents and my younger sister, Claire. Claire wore white. Not cream. Not off-white. White. Like a bride. She smiled at me without warmth. My father stood up and tapped his glass. The room went silent. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "Tonight isn't just about celebrating a birthday." I felt my pulse in my ears. My mother nodded beside him, lips tight. "This is about honesty," my father continued. "About accountability. About finally closing a chapter." People leaned in. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. My father reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. He slid it across the table toward me. "Inside," he said, "is a detailed list of every cent we spent raising you." Laughter rippled through the room. I looked down at the envelope. I didn't touch it. "You owe us," he said calmly. "For food. For school. For housing. For medical bills. For everything." My mother finally spoke. "We wasted our lives trying to fix you." The word wasted hit harder than any slap. My father leaned closer. "Pay it back," he said, voice low. "Or never contact us again." The room was silent now. I could hear someone's fork clatter to the floor. My hands trembled. I looked around, hoping stupidly that someone would object. An aunt. A cousin. Anyone. No one did. Then Claire reached across the table. She picked up my car keys. The keys I had set down beside my plate. "Dad already transferred the title to me," she said sweetly. "You don't need these anymore." I stared at her. "You can't be serious." She shrugged. "You're not part of the family anymore." Something inside me broke. Not loudly. Quietly. Cleanly. I stood up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I left the envelope on the table. I walked past 100 faces that suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. And I walked out without a word. That night, I slept on my friend's couch. The next morning, I woke up to nothing. No calls. No messages. It felt like falling into open water. By day 2, I expected anger. There was none. By day 3, I felt grief. Then day 4 came. And my phone started ringing. Again. And again. And again. 50 missed calls. Voicemails stacked so fast my phone froze. Messages from numbers I hadn't heard from in years. "Please call your mother. This is getting serious. We need to talk." By the end of the day, my sister was calling too. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because 4 days earlier, while they were humiliating me in front of 100 people, they forgot one thing. I had been silent for years. Not because I was weak, but because I was watching. 3 years earlier, my parents convinced me to co-sign a business loan. "It's just paperwork," my father said. "Family helps family." The business was under my name. The tax filings came to my email. The contracts had my signature. And when things started going wrong, they blamed me. I kept every document, every email, every transfer. I didn't argue. I didn't confront them. I waited. After the dinner, after I walked out, I made one phone call. To a lawyer. By day 4, everything was in motion. The business? Legally mine. The debt? Not attached to me. The accounts? Frozen. The house my parents lived in? Used as collateral. That's why they were calling. That's why Claire was panicking. That's why my mother's voice in the voicemail sounded smaller than I'd ever heard it. Please, she whispered. We didn't mean it like that. I listened. I didn't respond. On day 5, I answered one call. My father. His voice was shaking. You need to fix this, he said. You're tearing this family apart. I smiled for the first time in weeks. No, I said quietly. You did that on my birthday. Silence. Then he said, you owe us. I laughed. No, I replied. I paid already. And I hung up. A week later, my sister showed up at my door. She looked different. Smaller. She didn't have my car. She didn't have my confidence. They're losing everything, she said. I crossed my arms. You took my keys. She swallowed. I thought you'd come crawling back. I stepped aside. You miscalculated. She left crying. I closed the door. Months later, the restaurant closed. The business dissolved. The relatives stopped calling. And on my next birthday, I baked my own cake. One candle. One wish. And silence. The good kind. Before you go. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of something you've lived through, or something you're still healing from, please don't forget to like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Thank you for being here. Truly.